Today is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. We're talking about another winter storm impacting millions of Americans this week that could bring heavy snow or tornadoes, depending on where you live. Also, what happened just seconds before an NFL player collapsed and what athletic trainers did immediately right on the field. And the newly elected Congress meets for the first time on Capitol Hill. Plus, new year, new laws, what changes you can expect in 2023, how the world is remembering both a former pope and a broadcasting icon, and a national championship game set, how the top two teams in college football made history on the way to the finals. Those stories and more news, plus Trivia Tuesday, coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Today, another big storm is barreling across the country. It's expected to bring ice and snow to the plains and upper Midwest, and the threat of tornadoes and flooding to the south. Millions of people are now under tornado watches across parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Even if they don't see tornadoes, the same areas could have to deal with heavy rain, large hail, and powerful damaging winds. Meanwhile, millions more are under winter weather alerts from Utah to Wisconsin. Parts of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Minnesota are expected to see the worst of it, with intense snow falling at rates of up to 3 inches an hour, along with freezing rain and strong winds. Already, this same storm brought deadly floods to the West Coast. Several northern and central California towns had to evacuate over the weekend, and some people had to shelter in place since flooding shut down major roadways. Sadly, 2 people died. And even in Southern California, several people had to be rescued from their cars in the flooding, but no one was badly hurt there. The same areas could get even more rain tomorrow. It was a terrifying moment in Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field as his team was playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Hamlin tackled a player from the Bengals, got up right away, then went right back down just 3 seconds later. Help came out immediately, and athletic trainers gave him CPR for several minutes while he was still on the field. Reports say he received oxygen, and first responders used a defibrillator. The entire Bills team surrounded him the whole time, and several players were visibly upset. A statement from the Bills confirmed he suffered a cardiac arrest after a hit, and his heartbeat was restored on the field. Nearly 20 minutes after he collapsed, Hamlin was loaded into an ambulance and rushed to the hospital. He is still there now, and at last check, he was in critical condition. The NFL postponed the game, but so far has not said when or if it will be made up. To be continued. Well, lawmakers have now released former President Trump's tax returns, marking the end of a legal battle that's been going on for years. The House committee, made up of mostly Democrats, published thousands of pages of tax documents. They showed Trump limited how much he had to pay the government by deducting millions of dollars in business expenses and by offsetting his income against corporate losses, just to name a few examples. But things were different year to year. For example, he paid nearly $642,000 in federal income taxes in 2015, but then just $750 in 2016 and 2017, nearly $1 million in 2018, and then nothing in 2020. That could be because in 2020, more than 150 of Trump's business entities said they were losing, not making money. Trump's charitable donations also varied year to year. The returns say he wrote big checks worth more than $1 million in 2016 and 2017, but did not make any donations in 2020. The documents also showed Trump appears to have paid more in foreign taxes than he did in the U.S., since he had income reported in several countries like China, India, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, and more. Overall, analysts say the returns are large and complicated, but that it's not clear if Trump and his accountants did anything illegal to minimize his liability. In the past, when Trump was questioned about why he didn't pay more in income tax, he said that just makes him smart. Since these documents came out, former President Trump said the release will, quote, lead to horrible things for so many people. He accused Democrats of weaponizing everything that said, quote, that is a dangerous two-way street. Remember, Democrats first wanted to see these documents because they were concerned Trump had potential conflicts of interest while he was in office. But they didn't come easy. This legal battle went all the way to the Supreme Court. Today, a new era of government begins. The 118th Congress will get together for the first time on Capitol Hill at noon today. With that, Republicans will officially have control of the U.S. House, and Democrats will have more of a majority in the Senate. Of course, they'll be facing quite a few battles in the 2 years ahead over key issues like inflation and immigration. But first things first, the House will have to elect a new speaker. Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has been considered the frontrunner now that his party is in charge, but it's not clear if he has enough votes. So we'll see. Once a new speaker is named, that person is supposed to administer the oath of office to every other House member. Then business can really get going. With that, House Republicans are expected to launch investigations into the origins of COVID-19, business dealings of President Biden's son Hunter, and more. Of course, Democrats and Republicans also have some new bills in mind addressing all kinds of issues. As for the Senate, senators get together today, but there's not much on the agenda until their next meeting on January 23rd. More news is still coming up, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor. If your New Year's goals are to manage your budget better and save money, you'll want to check out Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, like a streaming service you bought to watch just one show, or a free trial that you never even used. Well, Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want or don't use. The same day I signed up, I found 2 subscriptions I had forgotten about and was able to immediately cancel them, saving me money I didn't even know I was wasting each month. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. That's rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. rocketmoney.com/newsworthy. Well, the new year brings a lot of new laws to Americans all around the country. Here's just some of them. First up, minimum wage. In 2023, 27 states will see an increase in the minimum wage. And in most of them, that change went into effect on January 1st. The highest minimum wages are now in California, Massachusetts, Washington, and New York, since they all bumped the rate up to $15 an hour or more. But there are no changes on the federal level, so the national minimum wage is still $7.25. Separately, there's a big change for job hunters in a couple of states. Employers in California and Washington will have to start including salary information in job postings, just like those in Oregon and New York City do now. Many states are also introducing new drug laws. Colorado will decriminalize so-called magic mushrooms and other psychedelics this week, while Connecticut, Maryland, and Missouri are all rolling out new rules for legal recreational marijuana. And last thing we want to mention, criminal justice reform. Illinois became the first state to end cash bail, and several other states have new laws that clear the records of former felons who don't commit new crimes after they leave prison. But of course, there are some exceptions. Tens of thousands of people have been visiting the Vatican to pay their respects to late Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. He was the first German pope in 1,000 years, and the first pope in nearly 600 years to resign from the Catholic Church. Traditionally, the Pope serves in the role until his death, but he stepped down saying his health was deteriorating. Benedict was Pope from 2005 to 2013, and he's generally known for his more conservative, traditional interpretation of Catholicism. Pope Emeritus Benedict was 95 years old. Current Pope Francis will preside over the funeral on Thursday, making it the first time a pope will be buried by his successor. People around the world are also saying goodbye to a trailblazing journalist. Barbara Walters died at 93 years old. She's considered a broadcast legend since she was the very first woman to co-host a morning and evening newscast. She also co-created the talk show The View. And she is perhaps best known for her Barbara Walters specials, like her Most Fascinating People specials that aired every year between 1993 and 2015. Walters interviewed world leaders, celebrities, royals, athletes, famous criminal defendants, and everyone in between. All in all, no other woman in television journalism has had a longer career. It seems things are a little closer to normal for travelers. At least the New Year's weekend was much smoother than Christmas weekend. Southwest Airlines scrapped a few dozen flights Saturday and Sunday, but that was less than 1% of what it had scheduled for each day. Yesterday, there were about 200 cancellations. And the airline blames early morning fog in Chicago and heavy snowfall in Denver for those. The airline says it's pretty happy with that. Still, Southwest is trying to recover from the thousands of cancellations last week. The company is still working to process customer refunds and sort through the huge backlog of missing bags. It's been a pretty exciting few days of college football bowl games, and now the field has been set for the 2023 National Championship. TCU and Georgia are now the final two teams standing. First, TCU completed the greatest upset in college football playoff history. The Horned Frogs went into the Fiesta Bowl as 8-point underdogs, but they beat the Michigan Wolverines 51-45 and became the first Big 12 team to ever win a playoff game. Then, the Georgia Bulldogs advanced over the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Peach Bowl. The whole thing came down to an Ohio State field goal attempt that ended the game at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. Literally, the field goal launched in 2022 and landed in 2023. But it didn't quite make it between the goalposts, and with that, Georgia won 42-41. So now TCU and Georgia go on to the national championship game. That's next Monday, January 9th in Inglewood, California. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Rothy's. I personally love that the new year is a time to reflect and reset. Not to put pressure on myself, but just to take stock of what makes me feel good and what small things I might want to upgrade or change. And this year, cleaning out my closet and getting a bit more organized is one of my big to-dos. And part of cleaning out my closet means donating a bunch of old and refreshing my 2023 wardrobe. But I always notice that my Rothy's shoes go in the keep pile because they have a timeless style, they're super comfortable, and they're high quality and durable, so they still look great even after it's been years. Plus, I may be getting a new pair since Rothy's always has new options. Flats, loafers, sneakers, and more in dozens of colors and prints. And yes, they are even launching more soon. You might also know by now that I love Rothy's shoes because they are sustainably made with their signature thread spun from recycled single-use plastic bottles. For stylish and comfortable shoes, shop Rothy's. Get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, who discovered penicillin? You can answer the question and play along with us on Instagram. Find and follow us at NewsworthyPod and look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, which painting was Vincent van Gogh's only official recorded sale in his lifetime? The answer is The Red Vineyard. It sold at a Brussels exhibition in March of 1890, just 4 months before Van Gogh's death. It shows people harvesting grapes in southern France. And as is typical for Van Gogh, it's a landscape, painted with several vibrant colors and varying brush strokes. It's now on display in an art museum in Moscow. By the way, even though this is the only one of Van Gogh's sales to be officially recorded during his lifetime, there are some sources who say other paintings sold even earlier. Of course, now Van Gogh paintings sell for millions of dollars. Well, thank you so much for listening today. We will be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.